We were wrong, not by a small margin. Not in some technical, academic way that doesn't really matter. Completely, fundamentally wrong. For years, decades even, we watched our dogs sleep beside us and told ourselves a story. A simple one, a comforting one. They like the warmth. They're used to it. They're spoiled. And honestly, that explanation felt good. It was simple. It sounded reasonable. So nobody looked much deeper. But some researchers did. And what they discovered wasn't what anyone expected. Because the real question was never where dogs sleep. The real question is why sleep itself is such a complicated thing for any living creature. Think about it for a moment. When you fall asleep, you stop monitoring the world around you. Your muscles relax. Your awareness fades. Your defenses disappear. For a few hours, you're completely at the mercy of your surroundings. For humans living in locked houses on quiet streets, that feels normal. But evolution doesn't know what a locked house is. Evolution built every living creature around a simple truth burned deep into its biology. Unconsciousness is dangerous. Sleep is when a predator catches you. Sleep is when you don't hear it coming. Sleep is, in the oldest sense of the word, a risk. And yet, every night, your dog finds you, lies down, lets out a slow breath, and closes its eyes, right beside you. That isn't nothing. It's a decision so ancient and so profound that most of us witness it every day without ever realizing what we're actually looking at. Here's something researchers keep seeing in studies of canine behavior. When dogs are given options, a soft dog bed in the corner, a warm couch, a spot beside the heater, they often ignore them. Instead, they choose a specific person. Not the most comfortable place in the house. The most familiar one. For a long time, people assumed this was simply affection, love, preference. But it's more than that. Wolves, the ancestors of dogs, don't sleep alone. And the reason isn't just warmth or physical protection. It's something deeper. When you're surrounded by your group, your nervous system changes. Your body no longer has to carry the burden of vigilance by itself. The constant background alertness becomes shared, distributed, quieter. That mechanism still exists inside every dog alive today. It never disappeared. It simply changed direction. Once it was aimed at a pack moving through the wilderness. Now it's aimed at you, asleep on a mattress. And when your dog presses against your legs at 2 in the morning, it isn't asking for attention. It isn't trying to take up more space. Its body is doing something much older. It's reading you. Your breathing, the tension in your muscles, the chemical signals coming from your skin. And when all of that signals calmness, your dog's body responds with something that feels remarkably close to safety. That's why so many dogs return to the exact same place every night. The same side of the bed, the same person, the same distance. It isn't routine for the sake of routine. It's reassurance. Everything is okay. Still here. Still together. Most of us assume dogs react to what we do, what we say, how we behave. But the research points towards something that is, honestly, a little unsettling. Dogs don't wait for behavior. They often detect what's happening before the behavior even begins. A slight shift in posture, a subtle change in breathing, stress hormones altering body scent in ways so delicate that many people never notice them at all. Studies examining dogs' ability to detect cortisol have found that they can identify elevated stress levels in humans through breath and sweat. Sometimes before the person consciously realizes they're anxious. Think about that. You haven't cried. You haven't said a word. You're sitting there looking completely normal, and your dog is already there, pressed against your leg, quieter than usual. Simply present. Some people call that clinginess, and it's easy to see why. From the outside, it looks as if the dog wants something. But what if it's the opposite? What if your dog isn't staying close because it needs something from you, but because something in your state has captured its attention? Because dogs don't only watch behavior, they watch condition. And there's a difference. Behavior is what you do. Condition is what is happening underneath. The things you may not even admit to yourself yet. Dogs live inside that second layer. They always have. And when night arrives, when the house becomes quiet and the distractions disappear, that sensitivity doesn't switch off. If anything, it becomes even stronger. This was the part that took me a while to process. When researchers began studying canine sleep more closely, they discovered something that shouldn't really make sense. Dogs in deep sleep, measurable, genuine sleep, still respond selectively to the people they're bonded to. Not every sound, not every movement. Yours. Your dog can remain asleep while a truck passes outside, while rain hits the roof, even when neighbors come home late at night. But then you shift your weight beneath the blanket, and their head rises. A breath sounds slightly different, a small movement, and suddenly they're looking at you. This isn't a quirk, and it isn't because dogs are naturally light sleepers. It appears that a small part of the brain remains quietly attentive, even during rest, specifically tuned to the people it considers important. And when you sit with that idea for a moment, it becomes surprisingly emotional. Because it means your dog spends hours every night in a state of partial awareness. Not because it's afraid, but because, somewhere deep inside, it assumes the two of you are standing watch together. And here's the part most people never think about. Before your dog finally drifted into deep sleep tonight, it checked on you. Maybe more than once. It listened to your breathing settle. It sensed the tension leaving the room. And it waited until something inside said, "It's okay. The night is calm enough now. I can let go." You probably never noticed. You were already asleep. But your dog was there, making sure. Here's the strange thing about dogs and their favorite humans. We tend to assume it's about investment. Who feeds them? Who trains them? Who walks them? Who spends the most time with them? The person who does the most should, in theory, build the strongest bond. That's how most of us think about it. But when researchers examined attachment behavior more closely, where dogs chose to sleep, who they approached during stressful situations, whose presence slowed their heart rate, the results repeatedly pointed somewhere unexpected. The strongest bonds didn't consistently form around the most active people. They formed around the most predictable ones. Calm movements, consistent reactions, energy that didn't suddenly spike and crash. Not the loudest person in the house, not the most dominant. Sometimes not even the person who spent the most hours with them, but the one whose presence created the least internal tension. And in a strange way, that makes perfect sense when you consider what sleep actually requires. You can't sleep deeply while remaining fully alert. Something inside you has to release its grip. It has to stop scanning the environment. It has to trust, at least for a few hours, that the world around it won't cause harm. For an animal whose survival once depended on reading every situation correctly, unpredictability is exhausting in a way that goes far beyond simple tiredness. It's a biological burden. So when your dog chooses who to sleep beside, it isn't simply choosing who it likes most. It's choosing the person with whom it can truly let go. And that explains something many dog owners have felt but struggled to describe. When a dog suddenly starts sleeping in another room, creates distance without any obvious reason, stops climbing into bed, it doesn't feel like a preference. It feels like something changed. Because in the world of social animals, creatures that communicate through presence more than words, the choice of where to sleep was never really about sleep at all. It's one of the most vulnerable things they can tell you. We've always told this story with humans at the center. We domesticated dogs. We selected them. We shaped them into what they are today. And that's true, at least partly. But there's another version of this story that we almost never talk about. Genetic research has shown that dogs are the only non-human species known to have independently developed the ability to read human facial expressions, not through training, not through force, but because understanding us eventually became part of survival itself. Which means that somewhere along the way, our brains began responding to each other in ways that went beyond usefulness. Not simply, "This animal helps me," but something much closer to, "Its presence makes me feel less alone." Think about what that actually means. For tens of thousands of years, humans and dogs slept in the same spaces, beside fires, inside shelters, through winters, droughts, storms, and every uncertainty that existed long before the modern world, generation after generation. And somewhere in all those shared nights, slowly, without anyone deciding it, the heartbeat of one species became a signal of safety for the other. That isn't poetry. It's measurable biology. And perhaps that's why losing a dog affects people in ways that are often difficult to explain. Some feel embarrassed. After all, it was just a dog. But grief doesn't see it that way. It's real, it's heavy, and sometimes it stays much longer than expected. Because what disappears isn't only a companion, it's a presence your nervous system learned to interpret as calm. A familiar breathing pattern that soothed something inside you without you ever realizing it. A warmth that quietly told an ancient part of your brain, "The night is being watched. You can rest now." And dogs, in their own way, likely carry something similar. Not grief in the human sense, but something. Something that makes them search empty rooms, sleep in places where a familiar scent still lingers, wait beside doors that will never open again, because they learned too what that presence meant and what its absence feels like. We thought dogs slept beside us because they liked comfort, but sleep was never truly comfortable for animals. Sleep has always been the moment when everything could go wrong. And every night, your dog enters that moment, right beside you. Not because of the blanket, not because of habit, not because it was trained to, but because somewhere across 15,000 years of shared darkness, your presence became something that made sleep possible. Every night, your dog finds you. And every night, it makes the same decision its ancestors made long before either of you existed. This person, this place, here, I can let go. And maybe it was never really about sleep. Maybe this was simply the clearest, most honest message a creature without language could ever give. You're the safest place I know.